Gold, the most famous precious metal in the world, and probably the most coveted one. Who among us wouldn't want to get our hands on some real gold jewelry, or even a whole bar of gold? By the way, how are these beautiful bars made? How are they unusual, and what are their special features? Let's find it out. This is Infinity, and in this episode, I'll show you the process of making the world's most expensive gold bars, and tell you a lot of interesting things about this yellow metal. Let's go! Gold bars. The raw material for gold bars is jewelry scrap, as well as discarded and unfashionable jewelry. Gold scrap is loaded into special melting furnaces, where it's brought under the influence of high temperature to a liquid homogeneous mass, which is then cast into molds to produce gold bars. The material that goes into smelting is called furnace charge. Furnace charge is necessarily subject to processing. Waste and scrap precious metals are purified and only then go into the smelting place. Precious metals are smelted in an induction furnace with a graphite crucible. Furnace charge is loaded into the crucible, which is the refractory vessel of the smelter. There, the metal is melted. The crucible is heated before charging it with metal, and the flux is poured into the bottom of the heated crucible. It's a substance for brazing. Then the furnace charge is loaded into the crucible and the desired temperature set. After the furnace charge is melted, the melt is covered with a small amount of fresh flux and stirred. Without lowering the heating temperature, the melt is allowed to stand so that the flux can slag off the unnecessary oxides and impurities. At the same time, the deoxidizer is added to the mixture. During smelting, the gold melt is heated to about 1200 degrees Celsius. This is quite enough to melt gold because the melting point is lower, 1064 degrees Celsius. The casting molds are used to cast the bars. They're metal bars with grooves in the shape of the future bar. The casting molds are calcinated to a temperature of 500 to 550 degrees Celsius with technological lubricants. Lubricant ensures good quality of bars, which is good spreading of melt in the cell. In essence, the entire process of gold bars production is similar to how a housewife makes cookies in the kitchen in molds. As with the cookie molds, the casting molds, that is the gold bars molds, must first be heated and then lubricated with a technological graphite dusting. In this case, the gold will not burn and the bar will be beautiful. When the melt is ready, the metal is finally poured. It's poured through the crucible's pouring chute into the casting molds, and after complete crystallization and aging, the bar is removed. The molten gold is viscous and pourable, resembling jelly in appearance. However, it solidifies quite quickly, as it only takes a few seconds to crystallize. Workers then take the bar out and immerse it in cold water. The gold bar is almost done. Just a few details remain. First, a small sample is taken to the chemical laboratory of the factory. This is sort of a quality control to be sure that the bar is excellent. If the gold's not pure enough, the bar is remelted and then the whole procedure is repeated. If the bar is beautiful and pure and it meets all the standards, it receives its own number. The gold manufacturer's mark and assay are stamped on it. After that, the certified bar with all the documents can be sent to the bank. By the way, did you know that a standard gold bar is not light at all? Despite its small size, its weight varies from 11 to 13.3 kilograms. So don't believe the movies where thieves stuff their bags and backpacks with dozens of bars after robbing some bank. You won't get far with this load. At least it's a good thing that the gold jewelry doesn't weigh too much. But how's it made? Stay tuned to find out, because more interesting things are to come. First, let's look at rings. A ring is one of the most popular and oldest jewelry around the world. But how exactly are gold rings made? The process is quite interesting. Everything begins with a sketch. Designers sketch a model of the future jewelry. At this stage, the assay and type of metal is determined at once, as well as the presence of precious or semi-precious inserts, engraving, and other decorative techniques. The designer draws a sketch from all angles and then it's approved by the jeweler. They assess whether it will be possible to make such a ring and correct the design if necessary. After that, a 3D model of the jewelry piece is made. This is necessary in order to make final adjustments to the size of the jewelry piece, the location of its decorative elements and inserts. After the final approval of the model, an exact wax copy of the ring is recreated, which will serve as a cast for casting the alloy. When the preparatory stages are finished, the preparation of the casting begins. A master threads several dozen wax casts on a special rod, which in the future will become gold rings of different designs. This is done to save time and resources because at a time you can get from 10 to 30 full-fledged casts. The rod with cast is covered with a layer of clay and baked at high temperature. After that, the craftsman melts the wax out of the casts, obtaining hollow molds. Next, the molds are filled with an alloy. For this purpose, both pure gold alloy and auxiliary alloys are used, the composition of which depends on the color and assay of the precious metal. Carefully mixed molten metals are poured into the clay molds, filling all the empty space. After the metal hardens completely, the base for the rings is ready. Next, the master cleans the clay from the solidified metal under a large flow of running water. Thus, we have a rod with rings threaded onto it. And the rings are removed with special scissors cutters. After that, the master connects all decorative elements of the jewelry in one composition. Finally, the jewelry is polished and buffed, which is the final stage of production. At this stage, the ring finally becomes a piece of jewelry. When everything's complete, the ring is subjected to evaluation and quality control and is given a state hallmark. Also, in the final stage, the ring can be encrusted with gemstones. Now the gold ring will delight its owner for many years with its beautiful appearance and beautiful glossy shine. The process of creating gold chains is no less interesting. In its pure form, the yellow precious metal is too soft and not suitable for jewelry making, so alloys of gold with silver, copper, and zinc are used to create gold chains, as well as gold rings. This makes the chain stronger and increases the durability of the product. First of all the metals are melted and mixed together. After they harden, they form a gold rod with a diameter of about 10 millimeters, which is a centimeter. It would seem that this is enough for a chain, but in fact, this rod is not yet thin enough for the production of chains. So manufacturers reduce its diameter to 0.15 millimeters with special machines. At high speed, the gold rod is pulled through narrow diamond nozzles, causing the metal fiber to become much thinner. The finest gold thread is then subjected to heat treatment that makes it more malleable. When the material's ready, the most important process comes, which is weaving the pattern. It's at this stage that the future chain is given its appearance. The weaving of the chain is made by special machines, each of which creates a particular type of weave, from anchor chain to curb chain. Gold rod is passed through a mechanical device that weaves a beautiful pattern from its fragments, connecting the finished links. The professional device is capable of creating a chain of 600 links in 1 minute. After weaving is completed, the product is covered with a special gold powder. The chain is placed in a furnace heated to 900 degrees, where the powder melts and makes each piece of jewelry monolithic. The gold chain is then cut into segments and polished with a diamond-coated polishing machine. The next step in jewelry making is attaching the clasp. The last step in the creation of the gold chain is the cleaning of the piece of jewelry in a chemical solution called rhodium. It gives an extra shine and prevents allergic reactions to the composition of the gold alloy. Done! Now the chains can be sent to the jewelry salons and stores. And finally, I wanted to share with you a few interesting facts about gold that will surely impress you. Since the Earth was in a molten state immediately after its origin, almost all of the gold currently on Earth is in its core. Scientists claim that the core of our planet contains 5 times more gold than there is in all known and accessible to man reserves. If this gold were to cover the surface of the planet, the layer would be half a meter thick. The largest gold nugget was found in 1872 in Australia. The Holterman collection, as it was called, was 144 centimeters long, 66 centimeters wide, and 10 centimeters thick. The nugget weighed 285 kilograms, of which 83.2 kilograms was pure gold. Gold is an incredibly malleable material, so much so that it can be used to forge translucent sheets as thin as 100 nanometers, or threads for sewing. Despite the abundance of bars and gold products, there's not much gold in the world. Current global gold reserves are estimated at around 32,000 to 34,000 tons. If you melt down all the gold in the world and make a cube out of it, its side would be about 12 meters. So gold can be rightly called a rare and precious metal. That's all, guys. Which precious metal do you like best? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you later.